I'm not saying my services are cheap, but it's because I put so much time and effort into every single client. And I really want to outdo their expectations every single time.
Hi, Megan. Thanks so much for joining us today here at Patent Pending. We're so happy to have you. Megan's joining us today from Charlotte. She is an integrative health coach with a thriving business down there. She works virtually, and we'll definitely be able to connect you with her if you are interested after this show. Follow that in the show notes. Megan, could you start out telling us a little bit about you and your business and everything you've been doing most recently?
Yes, ladies, thank you so much for having me, first of all. So like Melissa said, I'm a certified holistic health coach. I am just completely obsessed with nutrition and using food and lifestyle to look and feel your best. So essentially, I work with clients on, implementing those or giving them those daily strategies to be able to implement healthy eating, because it's one thing to know what to eat, but entirely different to actually do it. And in today's crazy world, it can feel really hard to implement some of those things, and doing it in a way that feels easy and effortless. So that's the end goal, right? With any change that we make, we want it to feel sustainable. So I know today we're going to talk about transitions and transformations, and that's exactly what I do with my clients. It's we take these small steps to you see the big picture. Sometimes you can't see the end picture, actually, but just taking the small steps to get there. So that starts with just meeting them halfway, taking their current lifestyle into consideration, and starting with those small tweaks and the simple swaps. With the overarching theme of really my true passion is just getting people back to the basics of eating real food, and then once we're there, once we're we've weaned our body off of these highly palatable foods that we probably all grew up eating, then really optimizing our metabolic health. So whether you have a deadline to meet, I work with a lot of brides, or if you're going through a new season of your life, I also work with a lot of new moms. It's how can we navigate this, and make it feel easy, make it feel effortless, and just with health, longevity, and disease prevention all as like our end goal, and just keeping things positive along the way.
That's amazing. I think it's so important to really pay attention to your health when you're doing anything new, or just, going through different transitions in your life. It's crucial that you have a good foundation to go off of. And if you're waking up every day and feeling like garbage, and you're not happy with the way that you look or the way that you feel or what's going on for you health-wise, that's just going to slow you down with anything you're trying to do, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So could you tell us a little bit about what it's been like building a business in the health and nutrition space, and everything that you started doing, and what that was like along the way, building it from scratch?
For sure. So well, before I even had the idea of becoming a health coach, it all started with my own changes. Just transitioning my diet. I tried everything. I did the calorie counting, did the macros, hired a macro coach. Whatever. I got the physical results, but I was miserable along the way. It just wasn't a sustainable way to live, for me. And as I transitioned, and I found these new strategies and these new tools that just made it so much easier and made it so livable. I was like, you know what? More people need to know that this is out there, have these tools in their toolbox to be able to make these changes. Because I think when it comes to health and nutrition, people are just so overwhelmed. There's so much information out there. They set the bar so high. They think they have to do everything perfectly, when really it's the little things that add up. And so my passion grew for helping other people in that. So I was in a transition period myself, in life. So my husband and I got married, and we moved to Charlotte in the middle of a school year. And I was a former elementary school teacher. And when you move in the middle of the school year, it's not like you're going to get a job, in December. So I had this 6-month window of openness. And I think that's really important for people. Sometimes you just need space. I'm not saying, go and quit your job, but just giving yourself a window. I think in our world that we live in today, we wake up, we instantly grab our phones, we go to bed watching TV or scrolling Instagram. We never really give ourselves that space to just like think or see, like, what do I actually want? What do I love? What do I not love? And how can I create this life around that? And so I had the opportunity to go back to school, which was amazing. I'm a lifelong learner. I'd say I spend 50% of my time now when I'm not working with clients, just researching and reading and learning as much as possible because it really never ends. But, I had kind of a whack in the face whenever I finished school, and I made my website, I put it out there, and I was like, all right, I'm a health coach now. My doors are open, and I just thought people were going to come flooding to me, right? Because I know what I do is great. I know that I can help people, but then that didn't necessarily happen, and I was like, oof, this whole like business thing isn't all it's cracked up to be. So many things go into it: marketing, sales, email funnels, all these words that were so foreign to me. And so that has been just such a learning curve. Very challenging, I'm not going to lie. But I think, just as I say with my clients, slow and steady wins the race. How can we do this sustainably? And so that's been my experience. I say that when I am working with clients, it does not feel like work. So that's how I know I'm doing the right thing. I get so much enjoyment out of seeing the changes that they make, and all the texts that they send me with their little wins throughout the day. It just brings me so much joy. And so I know I'm doing the right thing, and I know I always have to kind of come back to that. When the going gets tough, you just have to tap into what's your purpose, here's why you're here, and then you figure out the things like funnels and marketing, MailChimp, all that stuff that isn't actually that fun.
Yeah. All those logistical pieces are definitely
exactly
get a hang of. We've experienced that too, right?
Yeah, definitely. So with working with, I know you mentioned specifically you work with some brides and some new moms. What have been some of the challenges of learning new body types and troubleshooting and helping your clients get the results that they're looking for?
Yeah, so when it comes to nutrition, it needs to be so personalized, right? Every single person is so different. You and I could eat the exact same thing and our bodies would have completely different reactions to it, right? So for me, my coaching is really rooted in education. Like I said, I come from the teacher background. I don't just want to tell people what to eat. I want them to know why, and I want them to be able to recognize what's happening in their body. So, after they're done working with me and they want to try a new food, or they want to, continue progress, obviously, they can really be their own health advocates and know their bodies so well that it empowers them to continue making these positive food choices. So it's kind of funny how the world works, but my first couple clients were, I would say, people like that were basically the old me. So it was kind of, I wouldn't say easy, but it just works out that way, right? You attract people that you're similar to. So a lot of my first clients were people that were just me 5 years ago. So I could easily navigate them. When it comes to each person now, knowing them individually, I do rely on, some testing. Like, I teach clients how to test their own blood sugar. So that way we know how food affects them. So it's really just diving into the research, knowing all the different tools I can use. If I need to refer out to a functional medicine doctor, we do that if necessary. But yeah, I think just keeping the idea that everyone is individual. Like I said, I'm a constant learner. If something comes up with a client, you can bet that I'm going to spend 2 hours researching that topic, after I get off that call, if I have time, or that evening, so I'm always preparing for the next call just so I can be ahead and really just be a trusted resource for them.
That's a great point. I think that building trust with your clients right from the start is definitely something important. Is there anything else that you do aside from your own personal research that's more obvious to them that allows them to feel like they can trust you right from the start? How do you work to build trust with your clients right from the beginning?
Yeah, that's a great question, and so important. If you read any, like, if you take any like social media course, right, they're all like, you have to build the know, like, and trust factor, because no one's going to work with you if you don't if they don't feel like they can trust you. So it's really just about positioning yourself as an expert. And it can feel challenging. I'm relatively new to health coaching. I haven't been doing this for 10 years, but it's just about building as much experience in as you can. So I'll have conversations with my friends or my family and just try to collect as much experience, conversing with people about their health and collecting as much data as I can to know what I need to learn more of. I'll be the first to admit when I don't know something, and I think that builds a lot of trust with clients too. If they ask me something and I'm like not 1000% sure, I'll be the first to say, hey, I don't know for sure, and I'm not going to steer you in the wrong direction. So give me a week to look at this. I'm going to read the research and do all this stuff, and then I'm going to give you a better answer. So I think just being upfront with your clients, like, hey, I'm not a doctor, but I have a lot. I'm like the lifestyle expert, right? Like your doctor will tell you to do something, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be able to implement into your life. So that's really where I come in. It's like, how can we take your lifestyle into account, and how can we fit these strategies and tools into, like I said in the beginning, I always want it to feel easy and effortless in the end.
Absolutely. It's really important to be humble about that stuff because, like you said, everybody is different when it comes to their health, and your doctor is going to tell you one thing and your specialist is going to tell you something else. And then people start seeking health coaches and lifestyle experts like yourself. And it's like, okay, this is all the information I've gathered. Fix me.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, let me do my research and figure out what's going on with you, and trying different things. I think that's really important as well. Just trying to figure out different methods that work for different people. Is there anything that you've found to work consistently for you from one client to the next when it comes to figuring out health issues and whatever may be wrong with them, even if they are showing different symptoms or things like that? Or have you more recently just been working on like weight loss, nutrition, and stuff that's more common ground?
Absolutely. So I think, people come to me, like you said, they hear their doctor say one thing, they hear an Instagram influencer say another, they watch a documentary, and they come to me so confused. And so that's another part of building trust and being the trusted expert, is just being able to help them weed all of that out and really just get down to the root of it. And for me, that is getting, like I said in the beginning, getting clients back to the basics of, here's what your body needs. Yes, you can take all these supplements, you can do intermittent fasting and do all these other things that are going to optimize. But really, if you're not doing the groundwork, if you're not laying the foundation for your body to thrive, then you're sort of wasting your time with the other things. And so for me, that is just providing a sort of blueprint or a template of here's the nutrients your body needs. Your body needs protein, your body needs healthy fats, and your body needs fiber in the forms of non-starchy vegetables and leafy greens to get all those micronutrients. So really just starting with that. I spew this information all over the place because I think it's really simple for people to follow. And, even if you just want to try it on your own for free and not work with me, you're going to get results by just eating those 4 things because you're setting the foundation. Then if you find yourself, really struggling to do that and you feel like you need some lifestyle tools and accountability, then you come to me. Or say you start trying that and you still don't feel like you're getting the results you want, then you come to me and we really dial in on, I'm a big proponent of metabolic health and gut health, because if all those things aren't aligned, then you're going to run into some roadblocks and it can become super frustrating for people. And I think that's where people try dieting and then they give up, and then we end up in this yo-yo cycle, and that is more stressful than anything on the body. So I really try to just promote this idea of just get back to the basics, follow the simple formula, and you're going to feel different. It's going to make all those food choices easier, and it's really what makes this consistent and what makes it sustainable.
That's awesome. So just going back to, building the business itself, in branding and, being consistent with building what you want your business to be, what have you come up with that's helped you to get to the vision that you want for your business?
Absolutely. I think consistency, not only in your health, but also in building a business, is one of the most important things. I've really leaned into something called just relying on your content pillars. So it's basically like your core values. And for me, I thought, what are the core values of a healthy lifestyle? And that's you have to have a good mindset. You have to have a positive relationship with food. You have to dial in your nutrition, so meals. You have to move your body, and you have to be able to maintain it. So for me, my content pillars, and I kind of create all my programming around these four pillars, is mindset, meals, movement, and maintenance. And having those pillars in place makes it really easy to create content around that. It's like, I can wake up one day and say I need to make a post, and it's like, okay, I'm going to talk about mindset today. Like, what is something that my ideal client might be struggling with? What is something she's telling herself that might be holding her back? So that's just, I've found that really helpful to lean into content pillars, and just everything that you're putting out, does it come back to one of those four pillars, or does it come back to one of your values? Because that's really important. When someone sees your brand, they should be able to know what you value. But I'm not going to lie, being consistent is very challenging, because not only are we coaching clients, and we have our own lives over here, and like I said, I'm always reading and researching and whatnot. But then you have to spend all this time putting yourself out there, right, to be able to be consistent. And that can get overwhelming, and it can get, I've definitely had periods of burnout before, where, you put all your effort into this, and then you're like, wow, I could really use a break from my phone, or I could really take a whole week off of Instagram, and that would feel really nice. So some things that I've done, one thing I will say, I always try to, whenever I'm doing something that I feel like could easily lead to burnout. I don't know where I heard this, but it was the question that you should ask yourself: what would this look like if it were fun? And so I really we're doing what we love, right? We said this is our passion, but it can lead to burnout. And so how can we make sure that we're always feeling good about it? And I really love that question. What would this look like if it were fun? So I am not a designer whatsoever, not a graphic designer. I learned on Canva all myself, but can I make this fun? You know what I mean? And so that has helped just with keeping it consistent. As far as branding goes, I love the idea of just becoming top of mind with people. So something I've leaned into lately is my brand colors. My brand color is yellow. It reminds me of sunshine and happiness, and I really like it. And so all the graphics I make have some sort of element of yellow in it. Or if I'm making a video that I know I'm going to put out somewhere, I'll try to wear a yellow shirt or something like that. And it's just the idea of, when people see something yellow, I want them to think of me. I'm not saying they do now, but eventually, 5-10 years down the road, after I put out all this stuff, they might start thinking, hey, that reminds me of Megan. And that's really what you want to be when you're running a business. You want to be top of mind to people. There's going to be, I'm putting out all this content, and there's going to be people who don't need my services right now, but down the road they might. And I want, when they're like, oh, I could use some help here, or I have a friend who's really struggling with nutrition, I want them to think of me.
That's a great basis to go off of. I want to be top of mind. I've never really heard too many people highlight that specifically,
or put it that way.
Yeah.
So just in continuing on with that, being consistent in your own social media and your own branding and everything is one thing, but doing collaborations like what we're doing right now is also really important. So what have you done to make sure that everything that you're doing along the way and all the collaborations that you're doing really align with your brand?
Yeah, I think this is where those core values really come into play. Always just asking yourself, does this fit into my values? So I love your guys' show. I think it's so inspiring to people who might be making a transition or starting a new season of their life and all these things. And that fits into my core values, right? That's something that I want people to know. People feel stuck. They think, I always relate things back to nutrition, but that is, people grow up eating one way, and they think, oh, my family eats this way. They had these diseases. I'm destined to have those too. So why even bother? When it doesn't have to be that way, you can change your life at any moment. You can pivot at any time that you want. Did I ever think I would be a health coach? No, I just had that pivoting season of my life that opened that up. So yeah, do our values fit together? Absolutely. Same thing with brand collaborations. I don't do many of them, but and I'm not saying I'm a huge influencer or anything, but brands do reach out because they know that I'm suggesting things to clients, and I've said no to some because I don't agree with their ingredients. Like if I'm not going to eat it, or if I don't feel comfortable recommending it to my clients, I'm not going to put it on social. And I'm not saying that's like a big income maker for me or anything. That's never even on my radar. But yeah, it's just being comfortable saying no.
So talking about collaborations, can you tell us a little bit about any partnerships or relationships you've built with local doctors, or maybe not local doctors, or people that you refer your clients out to when they need some medical attention from more of a modern health standpoint?
Yeah, that's something I'm still working on, is building a network. That is definitely on my to-do list, I should say. It's you could like blast email out, to all the local doctors, like, hey, I'm here. I don't want to build my relationship that way. I want to create a really mutual respect for one another, and so that the doctors see the value of my services. So I haven't done it much yet, so I can't speak too much to that, but it is definitely on my to-do list and something I highly recommend no matter what field you're in. The one that I do work with, it was from a family member went there, and so that's something I need to be better about, so it's definitely on my to-do list.
Gotcha.
But I had all these big plans of networking, and then obviously no one's meeting in person nowadays, so
yeah.
More difficult.
Yeah.
So speaking of COVID, so many people have been forced to start working from home, and that can create a lot of struggle with separating work and personal life. But so many entrepreneurs go through that when they're starting their business. Can you tell us a little bit about what it's been like for you transitioning from having a workplace separate from your home and then moving on to building your own business from your house, and how have you navigated setting boundaries between work and personal life?
Yeah, absolutely. The first 3 months when you're super, head down, super focused, and it's like the world passes by and your head is just in your computer, right? Because you're so excited to launch your new business and doing all these things. And then it hits you, you're like, wow, I haven't seen my friends in a while. I feel kind of lonely. I'm a very social person, I like to think, and I loved working in a school. All the teachers, we were all best friends, and so I do miss that aspect of it. My husband also works from home, so that's been interesting. There's really no on-off switch for work and home life, which is something that we're working on for sure, because we'll both find ourselves on the couch, on our computers, and it's like, no, we still need to make time for each other. So the boundaries are definitely super important. We've been, we have seasons, we ebb and flow through those, but sometimes it takes like a breaking point to realize, okay, nope, computers are off at 7 p.m., whatever it be. Like, put your phone down. We're gonna sit here and we're gonna watch the show together. But he's a great sounding board. It can be interesting because they think one thing and you think another, and you ask them for advice, and then next thing you know, you're like, no, I don't like your advice.
It's like, I need to go back.
So that interestingly enough happens quite often, which is really funny. But yeah, like I said, work-life balance is interesting when you run your own business and you have these goals to grow it. I will say, for me, I have to practice what I preach. I cannot be preaching health and happiness and not practicing it myself. And I know from the data that stress and lack of sleep or lack of movement or lack of sunlight, whatever it be, takes such a toll on your health. And so if I'm not practicing that myself, then that's a problem. So I'm not going to say my business has grown as fast as I would like, but I will say it's growing at a pace where I feel comfortable that I can still prioritize my health, because I can't be telling clients to prioritize their health and me not be doing it myself. So I make time to walk outside. I make time to work out and to make my meals that I enjoy. And am I doing that? Am I sacrificing my business growth when I do that? Maybe a little bit, but that to me is what's going to make this sustainable. Slow and steady always wins. I think it's just like fat loss. If you lose a lot of weight, in 10 days, it's just going to come back. So if I push myself too hard, I'm just going to burn out. And then that's where you lose the consistency. Something that I've been really interested in lately, one of the topics I've been researching a lot is women's hormones. And I don't think it's talked about enough for women entrepreneurs to know these things. But you can really sync your workload with your cycle. And so we don't have to get all into it, but I can, if you follow, her name is Alyssa Vitti, I believe. Melissa, she's an IIN grad as well. And she wrote the book Woman Code and In the Flow. And it is just, I read it and it's just so relieving to know, because you'll have some weeks where you're super productive and you're feeling really good, and then the next week you're like, wow, I'm a piece of crap, I got nothing done, and you feel so bad about yourself. But if you understand that there's so many different things that are playing a role into that, with your hormones, it's really enlightening and eye-opening, and just, we're so hard on ourselves. So I'm always looking for ways, I don't want to say they're an excuse, but I'm just looking for ways to be more gentle with myself and to understand my body and understand how I work best and how I can optimize this so I can do it for a long run. So those are definitely two things I recommend looking into. To put it shortly, there's certain weeks where you're more likely to be more creative, and there's other weeks where you should be super project focused, and there's other weeks where you should be really into networking. So it's just super interesting if anyone's interested in looking that up and kind of getting out of the go mentality and figuring out how can I make this work for the long run without getting burnt out.
Yeah, I feel like that's so important. And especially, I feel that 100% coming from, I just finished my last day at my job as an accountant. We're moving to Virginia at the end of the month. So, but being in a male-dominated industry, there's I won't say no, but there's very little understanding of that. And so,
sure.
Basically everyone's expected to work the way that men work. And it's
yes.
Like there 100% is times where you're super productive. Like I'll get 8 hours worth of work done in a couple of hours one day, and then the next day I'm just not feeling it. Like I just can't do it. And it's like the goes by and you're like, what did I do at the end of the day? And it's because you're trying to make yourself do the same thing every single day in the same way, and women just don't function that way. So that's definitely a very interesting topic for me.
Yeah. Yes, I could read so much into it. And I understand, as a business owner, my own business, I have the flexibility to do that. I understand, some of my clients are in corporate environments where they are expected to do all these things every day, but it's just the little tweaks. So instead of being overwhelmed and saying, oh, well, I can't do that, I don't have her schedule, it's like finding the little moments. Can you get outside during lunch at least? Get some sunlight. Can you, go for a walk before instead of maybe doing a strenuous HIIT workout before work, maybe your body really just needs a light walk. And, it's sometimes the pressure we put on ourselves causes so much more stress than doing all the right things would anyway.
We actually just talked about a similar thing in our last episode, how when it seems overwhelming to balance all of these things at first, but once you start doing everything, you realize it makes everything so much easier.
Yes, you sort of get in the flow, no pun intended from the book, but absolutely.
Yeah, and it's okay for that flow to change every day. I think that's what we need to understand. Like, you're not going to have a full schedule every single day doing the same stuff that you did the day prior. That's going to be just as productive. You need to learn how to honor your interests for each day that comes. You know, like if one day you're feeling like you want to do your finances and you need to do a bunch of house stuff and you need to, do a bunch of family things, then you need to do that stuff. Those are needs as well. And taking care of that stuff is definitely just a different lens or a different way of looking at being productive, I think.
Yes. I know productivity is so, it can be we're so hard on ourselves when it comes down to it. So just having the ebbs and flows of it, I think, is super important.
Yeah, sometimes we just need to change the definition of what productive actually means to us.
Right. It's like, I feel like sometimes we try to distract ourselves from doing one thing by doing another. Like, I know there's times I have things that I need to do, but instead I like clean and organize my entire room. And it's like, well, that wasn't what I needed to do, but it was still productive and it was still something that needed to be done. Maybe it didn't need to be done right now, but that's where my mindset was, and that's okay. Yeah. I still got something done that needed to be done.
Yes.
I face that every day. Definitely.
Yes, I am the biggest, culprit of that.
So can you talk a little bit about your transition from being a music teacher and then finding your interests in health and nutrition and building a career in this field?
Yeah, so I think it wouldn't have happened without that window of time where I had that break. And I understand not everyone's going to have that opportunity. It just so happened that we moved in the middle of the school year and I had this 6 months to fill, and I found this nutrition program that, was that I could do in that time. And I didn't know it would turn into a business for sure. So when I moved to Charlotte, I nannied my way through nutrition school. I don't think I could never recommend someone completely quit their job and put all their eggs into this new business basket, because it does take time to grow. So that was really nice to just have an income source at least, and still build my business on the side. I will say, speaking of productivity, you almost get more done when you have less time. So now that I am full time, I find myself like some days I'm like, oh, I have all this time to get this stuff done. And you end up, or my problem is, I guess I should say, is I am deep down a perfectionist. And so I will write a blog post, I will make my website, I will do something, and I will spend so much time critiquing myself or redoing it. When you actually have less time, you're going to get it done quicker. You're going to have less time to overanalyze it, and you're just going to put it out there because you have another job to do. So that actually was kind of nice, having that. It's the pressure of less time, but also you're not putting so much pressure on yourself to build this thing so quickly, and it can become, you can build it in a way that you love and that feels comfortable to you. I definitely, given that move, that transition period, I lean into the everything happens for a reason, cliche for sure. But, I would, 5 years ago, would have never imagined that I was running my own business and doing this. But like I said, it doesn't feel like work. That's how I know I'm doing the right thing, which is exciting to me. And that's what keeps me going, when it does stink, when I do have to, when it comes to building a business, it's like, I always joke that I go to the University of Google. Like, there's no, I mean, I guess I could have gone to business school, but I know so many people that don't even use their undergraduate degrees or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, we are so lucky to live in the time that we do now. So that's another thing, is when things get tough, or when I find myself having to do something that I don't want to do, it's really tapping into being grateful for how so readily available information is. I think about, I always remind myself, like, if you were doing this 10, 15, 20 years ago, like, how did you start a business back then? I have no idea. You have to go, like, knocking on doors. You'd have to put ads in the newspaper. Like that to me sounds way worse than what I have to do now. So just being grateful for the technology that's available. Is the technology sometimes hard to navigate and a learning curve? Absolutely, but it's way better than, how things used to be, I'm sure. So just reminding yourself that now is literally the best time ever to start a business. We have so many tools at our fingertips, which I think is super exciting. And then another thing that you have to do when starting a business, I think, and when doing anything new, is you have to invest in yourself. I hired a business coach probably within the first year. She was more expensive than, having several clients come into me. So it's an expense for sure. But just having someone show you the way, because like I said, as a perfectionist or even as a new business owner, you question everything. And so just having someone there with the bird's eye view to say, yeah, this is what I did, or don't do this. That was super helpful. And I think the same thing when it comes to your health. Like, so many people are like, oh, I'll just do it on my own. I'm gonna do it. Well, why haven't you done it yet? That's what I ask people sometimes. Like, you sometimes it takes putting the money where your mouth is, and just investing in yourself, and that's going to give you the motivation you need. Really having someone with the bird's eye view to be able to say, here, yeah, you think this is what's holding you back, but actually it's something completely different. And usually it comes down to something like mindset or your attitude around something. So that has been super helpful. It's so scary spending money on yourself, but in the end, I think it pays it forward tenfold. And it's just something that you have to do. There's experts out there. You could read all the books you want, but it's still not going to get you to actually do something. And it's going to take you 10 times longer. So it's not a shortcut by any means, but it's definitely something that I think is necessary.
Definitely. You touched upon something that is interesting. So how starting a business now is so different from what it used to be. Although it's the technology has made things a little bit easier for everybody, it's also made it easier for clients to find people such as yourself. But there's so many out there now. Like, you can go on Google and find 100,000 health coaches. So what have you done along the way to differentiate yourself in an industry that, especially now, I feel like is kind of blowing up?
Yes, some days I wake up and I say, why do I do this? There's so many people out there already doing this. Who am I? Why would anyone, you always have these imposter syndrome thoughts, and it's really something that I think is important to get over. You have to remind yourself that you are the only you, and people are going to come to you for your coaching style. And for the, do I preach a lot of the same things that tons of other girls are out there preaching on Instagram? Absolutely. But I know that I do it in a specific way. I think I have my own personality. And so just first of all, reminding yourself of that. I think second is sometimes, I don't know where I heard this, but they say sometimes you have to be a little controversial. Like, that's how you stand out. I don't want to, I don't just want to come across as granola or, just another girl telling you to eat your broccoli. Like, there's so much more that goes into it. And sometimes, you have to be a little controversial. So for me, that looks like telling people, it's one thing to eat real food, but you need to, something I lean on or I talk about a lot is the idea of of fruit, right? So everyone thinks fruit is healthy. Is fruit healthy? Absolutely. It has tons of antioxidants. If you eat 8 bowls of fruit every single day, you're going to feel really hungry, and it's going to feel hard to eat balanced meals because fruit breaks down into sugar. Sugar spikes your blood sugar, and you come crashing down, and you're hungry and crashing and craving again. And so it's just pointing out these things that maybe other people aren't. It's one thing to eat healthy, but it's another to eat healthy in a way that doesn't feel hard. And you do that by balancing your blood sugar and turning off hunger. Because I come from, my history of dieting is I would white knuckle my way through the day and, have all this willpower and all this self-control and eat as little as possible, but I was starving all day long. And did I reach my physical goals? Yes, but I was, like I said, I was miserable. I would find myself, on the weekends not being able to maintain it. And then I'd find myself every Monday beating myself up. And that's what I don't want people to do. And so it's just, kind of calling out the mainstream nutrition advice, I guess, that you see out there, and really positioning myself as the expert, like on metabolic health. On It's one thing to be healthy, it's another to be metabolically healthy and really set your body up for disease prevention, right? Because you have people out there. Like the other day, I saw an influencer say, "Oh, like someone had asked her how she gets her body, and she literally told people, "Oh, I eat whatever I want. I just eat less of it." And it's like, girlfriend, like not everyone can do that. Like, give me, like, just eat less. Like, that's not a plan. What'd you say?
Maybe that's her truth, but that doesn't work for everyone.
At least put out there
Exactly.
that caveat saying, like, I don't advise this, but, like, this is just what I do. It's just natural.
Yeah. That would happen.
And to me, and then, so someone might look at her and be like, "Oh, she's so healthy, so I'm just going to do what she does." But to me, the true meaning of health is, are you healthy on the inside, right? Because one person can look healthy, aka skinny, but you could be, internally obese. You know what I mean? So it's painting this better picture of health, and that health doesn't just mean, being skinny. It really means, having a lot of energy throughout the day, really giving your body all the nutrients it needs, preventing disease, reducing inflammation. That is truly what it means to be healthy. And if I need to call some people out, I will. I try to do it in a gentle way. But yeah, so that's been, it definitely is, you can scroll and find thousands and thousands of girls preaching this, but it's just remembering that you're the only you, and people are going to come to you for a reason.
You were mentioning disease prevention. Have you seen, so what has been your experience through COVID with health coaching and working with your clients, and how has their mentality changed around it, and what do you advise for people?
Honestly, not much has changed, which I take as a good sign, because the clients I'm working with, they value their health, and they know that the foods they're feeding themselves are setting their body up for sustainable health and really supporting their immune system. So there's not much fear going on around it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it means that you're coaching your clients in a way that makes them confident in their immune system and their health, that they don't, there's not like they're not running to you now all of a sudden going, "Oh my gosh, I can't, what do I do here?" They already know that what you're giving them, what you're telling them is helping them.
Yeah, it's not like, "Megan, how do I build my immune system stronger to fight COVID?"
Like, you already are.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You mentioned before a few details about building your brand and, being different and being a little edgy sometimes with what you say on social media. Can you tell us a little bit more about how to decipher how much your time is worth in deciding what information to put forth on social media, and like how much time you're actually putting into that on your typical workday?
Yeah, this is something I definitely go back and forth on, because you'll hear different advice. But honestly, I don't hold much back, because I have 3 years of knowledge and research and experience working with clients. That would honestly take me 10 years to share all of it on social media. So I know as business owners, a lot of people are afraid to put out free content. But if you're confident in what you have to offer in your product and your services, there's no way you can give it all away on social media. There's so much that goes into navigating nutrition and really honing in on your health, that I give out tips weekly that if people want to implement them, great, but I feel like a lot of people, they read it, they're like, that's cool, that sounds great. And, they might try it for a couple days if they do. And sometimes it doesn't stick because they don't have the accountability. They don't have the bird's eye view. They haven't hired the expert. They haven't invested in it, right? They haven't taken ownership. So for me, I'm happy to, help as many people as possible for free, but people are going to pay to have all the information in one place, right? We're a convenience driven society. Everyone just wants it all in one place. They want to have, they want the best of the best. So they're going to hire you to be the expert, to be their guide, and to have the accountability. People set goals all the time and they don't reach them. And sometimes they just really need to invest in the accountability. So I don't have much fear around giving away free content or free helpful tips. I'd say a lot of what I do put out is sort of like the why and the what, and then the people pay for the how if they need it. And that just depends on the person. And if you want to take my tips and implement them and change your health for better, by all means, please do. That's my role here. That's my passion, is helping people change and, change their behaviors around food and eat well and live well. So if I'm doing that and I'm not getting paid for it, that's fine. But I think there's something called the endowment effect, and it's where when you buy something and you take ownership over it, you're going to be more likely to protect it or to spend a lot of time with it. So when people invest in a coaching program or in a session with me, they're going to get so much more out of it than if they just scroll my Instagram and get the free tips. So I'm not too worried about that. And like I said, nutrition is so personalized. So there's no way I could give away anything that would be like, this is the recipe for your life. You really have to work with a coach to help you make it work in your life or with your schedule or in your family. Everyone's different. Everyone's schedules are different. Everyone's family situations are different. So if they really want the personalization, then that's what they're going to get in my coaching programs. And if they don't want to invest in that right now, then by all means, take my free tips.
Yeah, that's awesome. You're so generous. I feel like a lot of people are, I don't know, protective over the information that they have in their minds when you first start out, because nobody can take that away from you. You're always going to have your thoughts and your education and everything, but it's your responsibility to kind of like filter how much you're giving. But you approach it with such a like nonchalant attitude, like, I'm here to give, and that's great. I think that's what leads you to great success, when you're willing to be giving and you're willing to look at it from that lens of, this is what I love to do, why would I not just give you this information?
And also just like you said, that you have more knowledge than you could even put out there in like many years. And I feel like people don't always realize that. It's like the confidence factor of realizing that you've gathered all this information. There's no way in, a year of Instagram posts you could impart all of your knowledge on anybody. So you can't possibly be giving away too much.
Absolutely. And especially if you're learning every day, like I'm reading every single day, that bucket is never going to run out. So like I try to put out content consistently, but there's no way I could ever keep up. I have 8 bajillion notes in my phone of all the new things I'm learning. And, sometimes I'll pull from them to make a post from it, but there's no way I could ever keep up. Like, as long as you're constantly learning and constantly taking in new experiences, you're gonna, you're just filling your bucket of your expertise. And so just taking the fear out of it of, oh, I'm giving away too much. I definitely had that fear in the beginning, and maybe it's because I didn't have enough knowledge at the time, but I've got 3 years worth now built up that I have no worry giving away free things. I know the people that need me will come to me and will invest in my services. And I know that they are going to get back twice, if not 10 times the investment that they put in, because really your health and is priceless. So, and the transformations that people go through, and just the changes, just the mindset changes alone, is truly, I know it sounds cliche, but it is priceless. So, I'm not saying my services are cheap, but it's because I put so much time and effort into every single client, and I really want to outdo their expectations every single time.
That's amazing. That's how you run a business.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Can you tell
have to come? Oh, sorry, go for it.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you work to hold your clients accountable? Like, what have you ever had a tough client that's just like full of excuses and difficult to work with from the start, but you've ended up having great success with them? Or do you have people that have been that type of experience for you, and then you have to end up just like cutting them off and being like, well, this is not going to work for you? How do you navigate that?
Yeah, I will say I've never had to cut anyone off. I feel like there are, everyone's different. I will say most people come to me excited to make the changes. So when I give them recommendations, they are like, they implement them right away. And, and they might be really good at, for the first couple weeks, and then it starts to slip back the next couple weeks. So so we work to like, how can we make that, as we build, so we're building one little strategy at a time, or one change at a time. So how can we make that, how can we make it all sort of work in sync by the end of it? And then you have other people who you give them recommendations, and then you come back the next week, you're like, so how did that go? And they're like, I didn't do it. You're like, you realize you're paying me, right, to do this? So it just depends on the person. But no, I have tons of tools built in. I have a client portal where, they're checking in daily, they're filling out forms, or they're filling out checklists. So when they come back to me for their next session, I see what they've done. I see what they've eaten. And, it really depends on every single client is so individualized. Some people like writing down what they eat because it holds them accountable. Other people, I have some clients who come from a past that, borders an eating disorder. So I'm not going to have them track everything they eat, because that mentally is not healthy. They shouldn't be thinking about food all day long. And so I don't want that. So it really depends on the client personality, what they need. But yeah, there's lots of tools. There's apps out there these days where they can check in with me. Maybe we set like a goal for them to have a smoothie, for breakfast, by 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock or 11 every day. I'm going to say, hey, I want you to send me a picture of that smoothie. So they have my phone number, they're texting me. There's lots of different strategies. And, I'm always looking for, not only am I researching the nutrition, but I'm also trying to become a better coach every day too. So just finding these new strategies, not just for them, but also for me, I think is important.
Yeah, it's definitely challenging sometimes to work on your people skills along the way when your focus is given to the nutrition side of things and doing all of your research and becoming highly educated in your field. It's really important to, keep in mind that people side of things as well.
For sure. I think I really want my clients to feel, I want them to see me as the expert and take my recommendations seriously. But in the end, I really want to feel like a friend to them, because I want them to feel supported by me. I don't want them to feel pressured or like I'm ever coming from a place of judgment, because you don't want to be pressured into change. They have to want it for themselves. And so sometimes that just comes by just asking them questions from like a place of a friend, not from being a nutritionist, not from being a coach, but just like, hey, we developed this really, if I work with some clients, I work with for 12 weeks or 6 months even, and you really develop a friendship with them and or a relationship with them. And it's really heartwarming to be able to have these conversations with them that they might not necessarily talk to someone else about. And I'm not saying I'm a therapist, but sometimes it goes in that direction. But because when it comes to food, a lot of it is emotional. A lot of people eat around their emotions, and so that's something we have to tackle. But just being a friendly face, a listening ear, sometimes that's what people need.
Yeah, definitely. Just circling back to the business side of it, starting a business is a big leap to take. How important has it been for you to have people around you that have taken those risks in their life as well, and their influence on your strategy going into starting the business.
So important. I think mentorship is a huge component of any time that you're going through a changing or a change in your life. So for me, I'm lucky enough, my older brother actually set the stage for me. So it's just me and him. We're only siblings. I will say we did not get along growing up, but it's really funny because now we're best friends. We talk every day. We work together. So he started his own business in the health food space. So it's a product-based business. And actually, I started working with him. I run his social media. And now that I'm certified health coach and I know I have all this nutrition information, they actually really lean on me for product development. And I consult with them for, new products and the nutrition in their products and whatnot. But just having him as just to set the stage for, or even open my eyes to the idea of even owning your business. We grew up Midwest, typical family. My mom's a nurse. My dad owns his own construction business, which I guess I never really saw him as an entrepreneur, even though he is. I don't know why I never did that, or why I never made that connection. But anyway, you go to college, right? You're 18 years old. You're told to. I just always thought in my mind, I'll just be a nurse or a teacher, or just these day-to-day jobs that most of us are used to. And I just never even had the thought of owning my own business. My brother did the same thing. He went into economics and he had a desk job and he was miserable. And he got to the point where he was like, I'm going to start my own business. And I thought he was crazy. I gave him a hard time when he first did it. And now here we are, 7 years later, he has a thriving $1 million business, and I work for him and I consult with him. And so just to have him as the as just the example to set the way, he really opened my eyes to this even being a possibility, to even being able to run your own business. It's amazing. So if you're not lucky enough to have someone like that in your life, I always something that's always stuck with me, I believe it was Tony Robbins who says it, but he says you're the combination of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So just if you think about that, then you're like really questioning, like, wow, who am you know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying your friends have to be exactly like you, but I want to surround myself with people who are going to make me a better person. And whether you can do that with friends or family, but nowadays, like, even if that means listening to a podcast, like, there's so much, you might not be able to invest in a coach or invest in a mentor, but you can get so much from just listening to someone's podcast that you really resonate with, and just sort of collecting their thoughts and getting their energy almost. And it really becomes inspiring. I did that with Rachel Hollis. I really liked when I was first starting, just because I loved how she was so confident, a confident speaker. And then there's other health coaches that I would follow. And you have to be careful because you want to, you don't want to just copy them, or you don't want to just try to be them. You have to still come back to making it your own. But I don't mean this in a cocky way, but I can see myself emulating the traits of Rachel Hollis that I really liked. Like, I feel really comfortable speaking publicly now, where 2 years ago, if I would have never spent the time listening and developing that skill myself, that I wouldn't have been able to do now. So I think it's just finding people that you want to be like and that you really look up to, and soaking up as much of them as you can.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Absolutely. And I think that what you said is so on point. We live in a time where it's so readily available to us. So being able to learn how to filter what we're taking in as far as content and educational information, things that we listen to and read on a daily basis, is definitely really important. I think, like, catering your Instagram feed, if you're somebody who's on it frequently, to the things that you want to be learning about, goes a long way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it goes the other way too, where if you have too much of the stuff you don't want coming in, that's going to affect you. So I do this once a month. I go through and I go on an unfollowing spree on my Instagram where if I have people that are, I want to watch my friends' stories, or you can put them on mute now, which is great. And it's not that I don't appreciate them and I want to know about their life, but if I'm spending time on my phone, I want everything coming my way to be a positive influence. And if I ever see, I tell my clients this all the time, if they're following someone and they feel negative about themselves based on what they're seeing, please hit unfollow. Like, you don't need everything your mind takes in. It is absorbing. And what we don't realize, it is manifesting in so many places of our life, by what we tell ourselves or what we think we can and can't do. And so we have the power to curate such a positive input, that don't be afraid to, mute people or unfollow people if the input isn't making your life better. Same thing with food. Like, we're always just trying to focus on positive. Can we eat more nutrients? And it's going to crowd out the junky stuff, right? And so if we input more positive, information into our mind and crowd out the negative, and it might not be explicitly negative, but you really have to take the time to reflect, like, after seeing that post, do I feel better about myself, or does that make me want to, go eat a bag of cookies? Like, if you're having these negative emotions, don't be afraid to cut that out of your life.
And also, when you go through these like transformative phases in your life, like, that's going to change. So, I even find myself, my Instagram before we started the podcast was literally just for my entertainment. Like, that I was like watching my friends' posts or whatever, and like following celebrities and different things. Like, that's what my Instagram was, because that's what I used it for. It was just literally entertainment, mindless entertainment. Now, since starting the podcast, I've definitely found myself going in and unfollowing a lot of those celebrities that really don't add anything to my, like, I want to go on Instagram and actually see content that is like relevant to my life right now.
Yeah.
So
1000%. It's a complete game changer. Instagram, it gets a bad rap, because there is so many negative influences out there, I feel like. But if you can really use it as your very own, like, encyclopedia for positive information, I think it can be a great tool. Obviously, we can find ourselves spending way too much time on it, but that's a different topic.
This has been so great, Meghan. I feel like we've gotten so many like golden nuggets out of this conversation to share with all our listeners, and just, to keep in our own toolboxes ourselves. So thank you so much for doing this. It's been a wonderful conversation.
I loved talking to you guys. This was so fun. Thank you.
Of course. Can you tell our listeners where they can find you? And just so everybody knows, we're going to link to everything in the show notes here regarding the book that Meghan had mentioned, and that Instagram account, and maybe some things for her brother's products and his business as well. And of course, her accounts and everything that you need to find her too. But could you just share like your website and your Instagram and all of that stuff?
Absolutely. Both my Instagram and my website are Well with Meghan, and that's Meghan with an H. Don't ask my mom why she included that to make my life harder, but Well with Meghan, MEGHAN.com. And yeah, follow me on Instagram. Like I said, I try to give away as much free content and just little tips and tidbits as I can to just help you and motivate you along the way as you navigate healthy eating and healthy living. You can get my newsletter. I send out weekly tips that follow my my content pillars. Like I said, my core values: mindset, meals, movement, and maintenance. I have a group coaching program around those 4 pillars if you want to dive in there. And yeah, like I said, I have my consulting and my coaching programs as well. And I always offer free clarity calls. So if you're just a person that, you're wanting to get started, or maybe you've tried healthy eating and you're just not sure what the next step is, there is absolutely no pressure whatsoever, but we will hop on a call and I can help lead you to what your next best step is, whether that's working with me or sending you to some specific resources. I am happy to help. Like I said, I'm on a mission to help people make healthy living easy and effortless, and I would love to help all of you.
Thank you so much for joining us, Meghan. It's been a pleasure having you. we will definitely stay connected, but that's it for now. That's a wrap.